I think I just got it done with the bow from the ground.
This year I went hard in the paint. I made some mistakes. I learned more than I've learned in years. I hunted the ground rather than sitting up in a tree like a big dumb monkey. For most of my season, I hardly got up into a tree stand at all this year and just really challenged myself in a way that I haven't in a really long time.
If you're new here, this is how I live. If I don't get a deer, I'm not eating red meat this year. It's a whole long conversation I'm not going to have right now, standing in the woods, tracking a deer.
And he did not go very far.
I'm not a rock hunter. I couldn't give a shit. I just want to thank this animal for giving his life to me. I can't tell you how grateful I am, little buddy. Thank you, brother.
Yes, the grind did pay off for me this year, but my whitetail season starts off in late August or early September with boots on the ground and a whole lot of scouting up here in hill country in central Ontario, Canada. And that's what this video is about, guys. It's not just one deer or one hunt. It's months of hunts and tracking and scouting and experimentation in the true wild big woods where I live, all rolled up into one video for you. And it all starts with finding and examining deer sign and trying to understand deer movement patterns as they change throughout the season, and then analyzing those observations to set up likely ambush points and getting up last minute tree stands like this one here that I got up super late. And hey, if you didn't catch it already, go watch the video I put up earlier in the season about how to tie a hunter safety rope after you watch this one, because yes, it might just save your ass. And I should get this out of the way, I am one of those scent guys. I don't go crazy with it with all the fancy products and all that stuff, but I will leave them hang out on the line for weeks to get rained on and get all the scent out of them, and I'll even go to the length of stuffing them in a box full of cedar boughs for weeks at a time as well. You can argue about all that down in the comments if you like. And right around the time I'm doing all this prep for my whitetail season, my giant organic garden is also in its prime. So before I start shooting deer on this video, here's a quick reminder why we do it in the first place. This is what it's all about, hunters. Nice fresh homegrown garden goodness, big old venison steak with some of that off a piece of top sirloin I've been eating on for a few days. Look out! Look at those beauties. Bang, right into that brown butter. Look out, kids. A little salt and pep. Get in that butter. Oh, brown butter seared venison in the casty. I wish you could smell this right through the screen. I got so much of that butter into that meat, but how about we drizzle the rest of it right over that frickin' rice, buddy? Hey, that's why we hunt right there, boys. Am I right? Yeah, I think I am right. You know, hunting at its best is all about acquiring super high quality, delicious organic meat. So if you clicked on this video just to see a deer get shot, there you go. Hope you enjoyed it. Merry Christmas. But that's not what this channel or this video is really all about. It's about learning stuff and the process and becoming a better hunter and a better steward of this land. So for those of you that are interested in diving deeper into the subject, let's move forward into the bush and start getting into some hunts. Because this year I went hard in the paint. I made some mistakes. I learned more than I've learned in years. I hunted the ground rather than sitting up in a tree like a big dumb monkey. For most of my season, I hardly got up into a tree stand at all this year and just really challenged myself in a way that I haven't in a really long time. So I want to share some of that stuff that I learned with you. I think it'll be valuable to you if you're a deer hunter. And not a whole lot to report from my early bow season. I really didn't get out much. I sat in my stand a few times, really just to take inventory, sat over some does and a couple of spikes, which I had no intention of shooting this early in the season, but here's a little guy that walked right in. And FYI, throughout the course of this season, I probably passed a half a dozen spikes like this.
I don't actually plan on sitting in tree stands very much at all this year. I can't stand. See what I did there? I can't stand tree stand hunting. I kind of hate it. I got sciatica. I got a bad back. It's hard for me to sit for long periods in the first place. And it's just so freaking boring, man.
Yeah, truth be told, I'm really not a huge fan of tree stand hunting. I love all the advantages it gives you, and I guess that's a topic for a whole separate video. And I certainly do hunt out of trees, but I spent most of the early bow season with boots on the ground, casing rubs and scrapes as the bucks started making them. And then the rifle season opened, and this is where things start to get really interesting. I got up in his stand on the opener, and I had the crosshairs on this guy for a good long time before he made me. In fact, he only saw me because I pulled out my phone to film him. And again, I had absolutely no intention of shooting a spike, especially on the opening day of rifle, but it was nice to see him. And believe it or not, this would be the last time I sat in a stand for over 6 weeks. Shit was about to start getting real on the ground. I hunted harder this year than I have since I started deer hunting. Rain or shine, snow or blizzard, almost every single day of the rifle season, down on the ground at eye level where the deer are. And I can honestly tell you, I learned more this season than I have since I started deer hunting because of the fact that I was down on the ground with them, but also because I did a really interesting experiment that I'm going to give you a little brief look into. I'm going to do a whole video on this subject in the future, but for now, check out these in-season mock scrapes that I started making this year during the rifle season, like right in the height of the rut with my dirty boots and my own urine. Now, making mock scrapes is nothing new, certainly not to me. I've done it for years, but I've always done it in the preseason. That's been the prevailing wisdom. That's what you see and read everywhere, is that you should do this stuff in advance, and I'm not saying that's not a good idea. You can get them started anytime, but I personally didn't know that you could do it right in the height of the rut without disturbing your hunting grounds. This is what we've all heard for years. Well, guess what? I started making mock scrapes probably 5 days into the rifle season in the height of the rut, and bucks started hitting them. Not just bucks, deer in general started hitting them within days, or in the case of this doe or some of those spikes, within 36 hours. And the activity on those mock scrapes that were made literally right in the rut continued well out into the second rut and into the late bow season. And just to give you an example of how useful these mock scrapes are, look at this fucking bruiser who came in and started using one of those scrapes. I think he was actually transiting across my property from time to time, and I never would have known without this footage. And as it turns out, I think I bumped this deer. It was actually probably the worst burn of my still hunting season. You're going to see that in just a moment, because what I want to share with you right now are my 2 worst fails of my 2025 season. Now, I've got hours and hours of footage. I can't show it all to you. This video would be 8 hours long. I want to make sure that you learn something from this video. So here's the story of my first brutal burn of the rifle season that I posted on my Instagram. And by the way, go follow over there if you haven't already. There's all kind of cool stuff that happens on that platform as well. But here you go. There's a really important takeaway at the end of this story. Whitetail hunters, I got a sob story for you, and I'm going to tell it to you in hopes that it maybe makes you feel better about a mistake you made this season, because I messed up so bad yesterday. I can't tell you how frustrated I am with myself. Here's what happened. I had a busy day. I couldn't hunt in the morning or all day, and I decided to go out just for a couple hours at the end of the day. And there wasn't a really good, strong, favorable wind. The wind was in my favor. I got the wind right, but you know, a lot of times at the end of the day when those thermals are dropping, you're better off hunting the ground, and I'm not going to go into all the details, etc. And I've shot lots of deer doing it this way. So I decided to still hunt up to that location where I've got a bait site in the stand, but not get in the stand. So I make a nice little still hunt up there. I take well over an hour to do a walk that would generally take me under 10 minutes. Okay? Perfect little still hunt. I get in there, I get set up. I'm sitting there, and it's raining, it's pissing, it's sleeting down, and my back is bugging me. And of course, because of all these factors, I'm a little fidgety, and I start to look around, and I go, maybe that tree over there, you know, in scenarios X, Y, and Z, I might get a better shot. No movement. I'm going to get up and move over to that tree there. And in that improbable, like 1 or 2 seconds where I could have got made, 2 does appear out of nowhere off to my right, make me, while I'm literally halfway crouched getting up, like in the moment I decided to do it, they made me, they appeared and found me, and I got snort wheezed at 3 times, not once, not twice, 3 times by the big papa who was probably 50 yards behind them, trailing them. He was obviously tending one of those does and was playing it safe like a buck does behind them. Well, those does, they saw me. They never caught my wind, and neither did he, so I still got a chance at that buck. But they bolted, and within a second, He snort wheezes 3 times and I hear King Kong go bounding off into the bush with them. I'm still standing there with my dick in my hand. Never got eyes on that buck. I'm sure he would have came in after them. They never would have got my wind. I probably would have got a shot, but I screwed it up. All I had to do was not move. So if something similar has happened to you, don't give up. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to go back out tomorrow and try again. It's all you can do. Everybody makes mistakes. It doesn't matter how good you think you are. Nature is always going to find a way to outsmart you if you let her. So don't do what I did. Don't be a dumbass. Stay put.
Yeah, that's a lesson I learned many years ago, and one that I just keep breaking. I'm just not good at sitting still. It's probably why I hate hunting in tree stands, and also the exact reason that I should be hunting in tree stands, but I digress. I got right back out the next day, got onto a different set of tracks that I carefully stalked not only to the end of my property, but right off of an adjacent property that I have permission to hunt, and never got to follow him any further.
That sucks. You went off the property. I'm at sort of the edge. I've only got a few meters left and I would be off my property. I can't go further. Well, nice to see. It's a big, like 3.5, 3-inch track. That's definitely a buck. He's just, he's out of reach for me. He's over on the neighboring property. Nothing I can do about that.
Well, too bad, so sad. It happens all the time when you're still hunting. If you're a new hunter, unless you're hunting a giant tract of public land, just know that sometimes you're going to run out of runway, and that is what it is. You pick up and start over. Or if you're feeling lucky and you got lots of time to burn, you can sit on that spot and hope he comes back on the same exact track later on or adjacent to it. But in my experience, that rarely happens. It can, but on this day I didn't do that. I turned around and hunted elsewhere. Now, I didn't just hunt on my own property. I moved around a little bit, and I actually was invited to hunt a beautiful 100-acre parcel that I had never been to before. And I didn't see any sign all day. The deer were just not using this property. So somewhere near the end of the day, I got into a really aggressive thrashing and calling sequence that I'm going to share with you in case you're a new hunter, because I haven't showed you much calling of deer yet, but it is a thing in case you didn't know that. You're not always just sitting in the woods completely silent, although that's a good tactic too in a lot of situations. But especially during the rut, if you're not seeing any sign, sometimes making a racket is your best chance of getting your eyes on a buck.
Sequence and blowing out a few grunts and seeing if I can call someone in. I haven't found any sign or tracks at all. I think my only chance today would be to call one in, so that's what I'm trying, and I'm being pretty aggressive about it because I've never been here before. I don't know if there's deer around. I haven't seen any sign at all. I think my best chance is just to frickin' blast calls. And big ones. If there is a big buck around, I want to piss him off. Get him to come in. We'll see. If I had even just found one track, I probably would sit here into the dark and struggle through all that, but I'm calling it. I'm going to pick my way back to that little creek, get over it, get onto the trail. And then from that little side trail, I got to find the main trail to get to the trailhead. So, super cool property, really interesting stalking around it. Beautiful property, but deer are not using it. Normally this time of year, you would see some sign. Here's what I can tell you about this property. I don't see any food sources. I did not see a single oak or beech tree, like a mast producing, nut producing tree, which is huge this time of year. And we're in a mast year for oak, so where there are oaks, deer will be there. And again, not one single track on any of the trails or side trails or any of the places I scouted. So I'm calling it. Maybe I'll come back here in the bow season. And who knows, maybe I'll see one on my walkout.
And no such luck on the way out, and I always love checking out a new spot, but I went back to hunting where I knew there were deer. Let's keep things moving along here because I gotta tell you about my second big burn, and it's way worse than the first one. Check this out.
Wasn't rolling, just got snorted at. Didn't get a good look, but it looked like a bigger deer anyway. I don't know if it was a doe or a buck. The view was obstructed, but snorted at from maybe 60 or 70 yards out. Full flag up and ran away. Just can't catch a break. And sure enough, that is a fresh scrape. And that's as fresh as they come. There's not a speck of snow in it, and he was chucking it. My guess is that is not a small deer, and super typical, right? Like, right close to where does are, right? Way back from where the actual food source is. He's been licking on that branch and scratching it with his preorbital glands. And I bumped him. Fuck.
And now I can't know this for sure, at least not with 100% certainty, but this scrape that was in the process of being made when I bumped the deer that was making it was not 50 yards from one of my mock scrapes, the primary one that all the biggest cruisers were using, and just based on the body size that was obstructed, I never did get to see his rack. Probability is very high that it was this monster who had been in my mock scrape that very morning and actually showed up the night before right in that area as well. Now, if you're an experienced hunter, you won't be surprised to learn that I didn't see this deer again for weeks, and I never got to see him in person, only on this footage that you're looking at right now. You just cannot bump a big mature buck like that and expect him to hang around. It doesn't happen. I'm actually surprised that he came back at all. And these are the caveats of still hunting or slip hunting, like you guys say down south. You're gonna bump the odd deer, and unfortunately, just bad luck, I bumped the exact one that I wanted to get my sights on. It was a heartbreak, but hey, it happened. And before the rifle season was over, I actually went back to that exact same scrape, set up on it, hoping that he would show up, got in nice and quiet on a good wind, and this happened.
I like that for a gun rest.
Hot tip, always get yourself a rest if you can. It's so much better than an offhand shot. And I thought I just might get a shot at Mr. Big when this doe came walking out at about 45 yards and was followed by not one, but two little spikes. The first one was a little button buck. Obviously, I passed on him. And I didn't know the next deer that would come walking through was going to be another spike. I was thinking, you know what? It's late enough in the season that if she's not already knocked up, she might be coming into heat again. And Mr. Big won't care about that little fawn. He could be tending and trailing her. So I kept the rifle up, and when that little spike came running out after them, man, my heart just dropped. I was like, oh man, I was really hoping that was my guy. But it wasn't, and I passed on that second spike, even though he was actually a pretty decent size, because I still had the whole late bow season ahead of me, and I knew I still had some time to get a better deer. All right, well, it's the last day of the 2025 rifle season. I've still got a tag in my pocket. I've made some dumb mistakes. I've passed on a few deer that I could have taken some decent spikes. I sat this morning even, not in the tree stand area where I'm going today, but in another one, and passed that little 3-point spike that's been hanging around on a lot of my cams. And I was thinking when I left in the morning, since it's the last day of rifle, and this is a brand new rifle, I've not even really shot it at a deer yet, I was maybe going to consider taking a spike. When I had one under me this morning, I passed. Probably because of this. There is a bigger one. There's a bigger one that's like a tall 4-point. He's a 1.5 year old buck. He's a legal deer. He's a little bigger. There's more meat on him. And I might shoot that guy this afternoon if I run into him. But I'm still looking for that 2.5-year-old who's been coming into one of the mock scrapes that I've made mid-season here.
I'll tell you more about it. I'm going to do a whole video on this in the future. So I'm going to go hunt one of those, see if maybe that 2.5-year-old buck that I saw, not last night, the night before on a cam, is still cruising around, because there's lots of does around. And maybe if I don't get a shot at him, maybe I run into that tall 4-point spike, who's a little bigger bodied and might meet my needs for the year. Anyway, let's get out there.
And new hunters, or hunters who are new to still hunting or slip hunting, I got a nice little tip for you here. You see this handy little folding stool? This is the best thing you can add to your still hunting or slip hunting rig. Still hunting doesn't necessarily mean you're always creeping around, sometimes just camping out in a spot. Once you've cased the area and you think there's a good chance that a target deer might come through, is the best strategy. And one of these little folding stools is so much more comfortable than hunkering down into the wet snow. Or if you got a bad back like me, a stool's a game changer. So yeah, tons of boots on the ground, tons of tracking, learned a ton from the mistakes I made, but now let's move forward and get you to the successful hunt, because I know that's what a lot of you guys came here for, and I totally understand. I just want to put one thing out there. There's not a ton of channels here on YouTube who are going to show you their ass like this and show you the mistakes they made, but that's what I promised you on the very first video that I ever made here. 100% super mega realness, and I want to make sure you walk away with something, and if that means showing you my mistakes so you don't make them, I'm very happy to do that. But anyway, let's get to the hunt that brought down this beautiful 2.5-year-old that I had my eye on all season as well, because it was a super interesting hunt in its own right.
Well, I'm getting ready to go out. It's 5:45 a.m. and the wind has changed on me compared to the forecast when I went to bed. So now I'm sitting fully dressed in my dingy murder basement waiting, because I have to wait for the sun to come up and get those thermals lifting. There's lots of deer around. Don't want to bump them. And I just can't count on the wind, which I was counting on when I went to bed. So now I'm going to sit around like an idiot and wait for the sun to start coming out a little tiny bit. I actually have to go outside. I'm freaking too hot in this, even in this cold basement. I'm too hot because I'm like really dressed up. It's cold outside. I'm going to go stand outside and wait for those thermals and then go hunt. All right, well, new hunters, I've got a hot tip for you. The experienced guys are going to know this stuff, but I just want to put this out there. So I was just standing outside, waiting for the sun to come up a little bit, hopefully lift those thermals, and there is zero wind. It's nowhere near what the forecast predicted. Now, we've got a huge storm moving in. I was hoping to be hunting that storm today, but without the snow falling and wind blowing in my favor, I'm just not going out, is what I just decided. I'm actually going to wait for that front to move in, get that northwest blowing, and then head out. And you're much better off hunting on a good wind than you are with no wind at all or an unfavorable wind. When sounds really travel in the forest and your scent starts to pool, etc., then you are to force it, even though you're stoked. Like, look at me, I'm fully dressed, I'm ready to go, I'm stoked to hunt. I got up early, I'm ready to rock and roll, but the conditions aren't favorable. And in my opinion, it is better for me to go inside, chill, and wait for this storm to kick up. When the deer will be moving, it will make them stand up and start to move around, but more importantly, to get a wind in my favor rather than having nothing at all. So it's a tough one to learn, especially when you're first starting out in hunting. And I know even a lot of experienced hunters will go out and sit in the super calm, but don't forget, I'm hunting the ground. I need some sound cover as well. I need the branches to be moving and wind to be blowing, to be moving around on the ground. And even if I was going to go sit in my stand, I don't like climbing up there on like a zero wind morning. You're just asking for trouble in so many different ways. I'd rather sit here and then go out when the conditions are favorable for me, not for the deer. All right, well, this has been frustrating. I got up at 5:30 a.m. to hunt, got ready, got out. The wind was letting me down. It's now almost 2 in the afternoon. I've been waiting all day for this wind from the north to finally start picking up, and it has. You can see it was snowing straight down all day long. I've been waiting, itching to get out, and now it's finally coming from the north. So I'm just headed back down to get dressed, get suited up, get my bow together, and finally see if I can't get out on this favorable wind finally. And here's just a quick look of how much snow has fallen since this morning.
It is a veritable snowstorm, but just not a strong one. It's not blowing, but it's coming straight down like freaking crazy. Like, look at the trees, man. They're all arcing down, bending already. And, not complaining, but I gotta dig my way into the basement just to get dressed.
All right, I'm dressed for success. Here goes nothing. It's getting late in the season. I gotta get her done. Yeah, there's no room left for experimentation or error. I have to get it done. There are 4 days left in the 2025 whitetail season at this point. And if you're new here, this is how I live. This is how I eat. I don't buy industrial meat. I don't get to eat red meat, or at least not very much of it if I don't kill a deer. I decided quite a while ago now that I just don't want to participate in those big corporate food systems, and I don't allow myself to do it. Or at least I should say, I try to minimize my reliance on corporate or industrial food as much as possible. But I'm getting off topic. The footage you're seeing right now is a maybe 40 to 45 minute, super sped up still hunt. On my way towards the bait site, but deer have been bedding on this side of the bait site, and I figure there's just as good a chance I run into that 2.5-year-old buck bedded down in here with some does or something, so I really take my time picking through all this stuff. And I eventually make my way up all the way to where the bait site in one of those mock scrapes is, hoping there's no deer in there right at that moment when I'm arriving. So I just super stealth creep up to the edge of this snowbank here. And I actually know this snowbank. It's an important detail. You can see my imprint. I was in it 2 days before with my scope on a doe because I had intended to go and sit up in my tree stand that day, and the wind changed on me and I had to stay on the ground. And I'm really glad that happened. It was almost like a practice run for what you're about to see happen. I got to sit there, that doe came in, started feeding and hanging out, and because I was trapped in that spot, I really got a chance to study the terrain and look at all the little twigs and those little baby beech trees you're about to see to get a couple of shooting lanes. And actually, after that hunt, after that doe left, I actually went down there and cleared the exact shooting lane that I ended up killing this buck from. So in a way, it was really lucky that wind changed on me 2 days before. That hunt allowed me to think through a whole bunch of different scenarios that could happen if I ever got stuck in that spot again, which is exactly what was happening right in that moment. The wind had dropped right off again.
All right, I made it out to the bait site. Thankfully, there's no deer in there. That's my worry all the time. Last time I had to bump a deer out of here to get my stand, but the wind is still very low. I thought it had picked up, but it dropped off again, so I'm gonna sit tight right here. I've got a couple lanes to shoot if I need to shoot off the ground. And if the wind picks up, I'll get up into my stand, but for now, I'm staying put.
And 35 minutes go by.
The wind still isn't picking up. So I'm okay here on the ground. The thermals are dropping in the afternoon. When the wind comes, it'll be okay to be in the tree too. But for now, like I said, I'm staying put. Nothing saw, heard, or smelled me on the way in. And as long as I stay nice and still, I might get away with a shot from right where I'm sitting. You never know.
And if that's not foreshadowing, I don't know what is. So I stayed put, with my knees in the snow, hunkered down in kind of an awkward position, with my pants and jacket soaking through more and more by the minute. And with the sun dropping, it was getting cold, man. It was already minus 10 or 11. And I'll be honest with you, I was starting to feel it. I had to keep telling myself in my head, you gotta take it, man. 4 days left. 4 days left. 4 days left. You gotta take it, bud. Don't be a fucking wimp. And I sat there as still as I could through the shivers that were starting to come on. And lo and behold, maybe 2 hours after I had first plunked down into that freezing snowbank, I saw a little tiny glimmer of movement out in the bush almost straight ahead of me, and could just make out the shape of his body enough to know that I was interested. This one might just be a shooter after all the miles on foot and the fuck-ups and those 2 heartbreaks and the freezing cold sits and the early mornings. But my heart started sinking as he seemed to be walking away as quickly as he had appeared. He was headed off to my left. No doubt to scent check that bait site before he decided to walk in. He had to make sure that it was safe. This is not a surprising move from a
buck, but it was a concerning one with the tiny amount of wind that I was getting that afternoon. Don't forget, the wind was not behaving the way the forecast said, and there was only so far he could keep walking to the south before he would catch my scent. And just as he was about to walk into the edge of my scent cone, miraculously, he decided that was enough. He turned around and headed back towards the bait site. Buddy, I was shitting bricks for what seemed like forever there. In reality, it was probably only 4 or 5 minutes that he did that little loop, and I sat as still as possible, and it paid off. It looked like he felt comfortable and he was moving back in, but I still had to be super statue still. The camera always makes it look further than it is in reality. You have to understand, this deer is really only 20-25 yards away from me at this point. It's dead quiet, there's hardly any wind, and we both have a really good direct line of sight at each other, so there's zero room for error. I can't twitch a muscle, because even though he doesn't look like he's been spooked in any way, he's still a buck, and even a young buck of this age is gonna be cautious when he's walking into a site like this, or anywhere. Watch, he's gonna be constantly lifting his head, looking around, assessing the ground and the situation around him at all times. He's not gonna be comfortable in a spot like this, and I cannot give him a twitch. I'm not kidding. This is how these animals stay alive in the wild. They're so good at detecting movement, especially from their sides. Their eyes are literally designed for it. So if you're a new hunter, make sure that any moves that have to be done are like this: when his head is behind a tree, obstructed in some way, maybe he's walking the other way or facing the other way. It's really the only time you can get away with it. And you'll see as this sequence progresses, when he does finally get out into the open, he almost burns me a couple of times. I have to wait until his head is down to make even the slightest little micro movement with the bow. Now, instead of walking straight in, he's gone and walked around that big rock, and I didn't get my preferred lane. There's a lane to the left of the center tree there that I was really hoping to shoot this deer in. It didn't work out. Now I gotta wait for him to go out into the open and use that lane that I had just cleared 2 days before, but it's very open and very risky, and again, I'm shitting bricks because I know how uncomfortable he's gonna feel out in that big open space. I know how cautious he's gonna be, and I'm a little bit exposed way up on that hill on top of that snowbank. I gotta be super careful. I gotta just let him do his thing in there and only try and position the bow for a shot when and if he gives me an opportunity to do it. That bow's been sitting in the snow for hours and it's kind of sticking and it's a little difficult to maneuver. And just trying to free it up right here, he almost makes me. He looks right in my direction, intuitively feels that something might be amiss, but I statue him. And I wait until he puts his head down again to get the bow into the final position I need to hopefully finally be able to squeeze off a shot. Pay dirt, and he's off.
Shit. I think I just got it done with the bow from the ground. I think the shot was good. I hit him clean. I can't see blood from here, but that was about a 22-ish yard shot. And he took off. Now I just have to wait. If this works out, I can't believe it. I think the shot was good. He almost came around behind me, and he knew something was up, but he gave up on it, believe it or not, and went right down into the sight. And I think I got a good shot on him. There's a lot of snow in my scope. I couldn't clean it. I couldn't risk the movement of cleaning my scope with all the snow in it. But I sized him up good. I took my time. Quartering to, unfortunately, almost broadside. So we're gonna see. It's what he gave me, and I took it. Now I'm gonna wait a good 15-20 minutes. He did take off into those conifers. I don't think I heard him drop. I heard something loud. I don't know if that was him just crashing over a tree or whether he dropped. But especially with the archery, if you're a new hunter, you gotta give him time. So that's what I'm gonna do. That was exciting. ground. But I've hunted hard this season, all from the ground. I've barely sat in the stand. I'm soaking wet in real cold snow right now. And I've been trying to challenge myself all season just to see if I can do it. And if that shot was good, and I think it was, I just proved something really important to myself. I don't have to sit in a tree. I mean, I already know that. I've shot lots of deer on the ground, not lots, but a few. Still hunting, but always with the rifle. And that's really exciting, man. Here's what I can tell you while we're waiting to see if this deer has expired. Is that hunting the ground the way I've been doing it this year has been so much more rewarding. I've learned so much more about deer behavior. I'm down on the ground with them. I've done as much tracking this year as I have done maybe since I started deer hunting. I've been working scrapes. I've been, figuring out where they're bedding. I think I know this deer. If this is the one I think it was, he came from an adjacent property. And the good thing is he ran onto mine. He didn't run onto the neighbors. He's gone into my neck of the woods, my acreage. So if he did drop in those conifers where I think he is, I'm good to go. But anyway, I'm gonna stop talking. I'm just excited to see what that shot looked like. I'm gonna knock another arrow before I go in there, but I want to find that broadhead. See, I knew they were coming from the other way. There's no fresh tracks in here today. That seemed right. What I'm really hoping for here is blood. Well, this is the impact, I think, here. I don't see any blood. Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, we're good. That arrow should be somewhere here. It's gonna be buried. But this is what we're looking for right here. That's not a lot of blood.
It wasn't, and this is when I started getting concerned about the shot.
I definitely hit him though. While we're waiting here, I want to show you the trajectory. It's tight through there. I was just up at the top of here. And I could just slip an arrow through a couple of these spots. There are some branches, but I didn't see any in the scope. Again, there was a lot of snow on it. I hope I didn't take any of these little branches, but I think it was pretty clear. But now I gotta knock an arrow and see if I can find that broadhead, but I gotta at least knock another arrow in case he needs a finishing shot. I don't love that I had to shoot him right on the bait site, but I've covered so many miles this season. I had just intuition that with this weather, they'd be up while it was snowing, and sure enough, he was moving. That's not the deer I was hoping for, but I'll take it. There's 4 days left in the season, and it's a nice one, I think. I'm just quickly trying to look for... Oh, there it is. Yes. Okay, good. And lots of blood. Lots of blood. Good, 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 good. I just wiped a bunch off with my foot, but I see lots of blood on that broadhead. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're good, man. Look at that. I thought it was a pass-through, yes. Okay. It's not a ton, but look down here. There's a lot in the snow, okay? And I wiped a lot off with my boot. When I kicked that out, that's a really good sign. That's what I want to see. And then we're going to follow that blood trail. All right, the bow is drawn. I just need to knock that broadhead. But real quick, I want to show you what I was shooting through. This is hunting in central Ontario a lot of times. I could not risk the movement of clearing it. And there was a little bit less snow, but it looks something more like that. So this is why, I don't feel 100% confident. I knew he was centered, and I could see the crosshairs, but I couldn't see it perfectly. And that's just hunting in this neck of the woods, Sometimes you just gotta go balls out and trust your gut, I've shot that thing hundreds of times this season. And, you just give a feel for it. I'm not saying take bad shots. I would never take a bad shot. But even semi-obstructed with that bit of snow, I felt, good. I felt good enough to pull the trigger. And sometimes it's just what you gotta do. I'm really, really curious to see how this shot ended up. I can't say I've ever pulled the trigger that with that much snow in my scope. But there's 4 days left in the season, and that's a good deer. I need a deer to eat this year. So if you're new here, this is how I live. If I don't get a deer, I'm not eating red meat this year. I don't buy industrial meat. It's a whole long conversation I'm not going to have right now, standing in the woods, tracking a deer. But I just don't participate in that system. So a deer to me in my year is so critically important for my diet. I just couldn't take any chances. And like I said, I've shot this bow hundreds of times this season. And despite all that snow, I felt pretty good. I felt pretty good about the shot. And I think the evidence is here. We had blood and fur all the way up and down that arrow. And I've even got a nice little start of a blood trail to follow. So let's just see. But I gotta move here. We're running out of light fast.
And as you're about to see, the shot was far from perfect, but that deer didn't run 50 or 60 yards. I only got one lung, which is why you're only going to see the blood trail on one side. I'll explain this a little more in the post-mortem when I dress the deer. That's coming right up. I was just thankful that he didn't go too far and that he died quickly, because that's always a big concern for me with archery equipment compared to shooting a deer with a gun. I was just grateful to see him folded down dead so close to where he got shot.
All right, I'm on him. And the shot looks good. Now, it was a funny angle like that. So the exit wound is really far back on the lungs, but I'm pretty sure it's still lungs. I don't think it pierced that anterior cavity. I hope not. Anyway, we're going to find out very soon. But let's have a look at him. Yeah. What is he? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's technically a sixer, but a young one. So this is a 2.5-year-old deer, believe it or not. He just hasn't been eating well. Antler size is largely determined by food, food sources. So this is a good size bodied deer. He just doesn't have a great rack on him, but that is not very important to me whatsoever. I'm not a rack hunter. I couldn't give a shit. I just want to thank this animal for giving his life to me. I can't tell you how grateful I am, little buddy. And I'll keep that rack. Sure I will. I'll probably do a Euro mount or something, but for me, this isn't shit. I don't care about antlers. I don't care about boone and crocking and all that stuff. There's nothing wrong with chasing a nice big specimen, but this is going to fill my freezer. This is a beautiful deer. I'm very, very grateful for it. Way, way out into the season with only 4 days left. I hunted hard this year. I didn't get the deer I want, and that's okay, man. This guy is beautiful. Thank you, brother. You can see we're losing light fast. I got to dress this deer and I got to drag it out of this very bad spot that he ran into. I got to at least get him out onto the trail. I might drag it home and dress it at home with better light because I'm going to lose light, I think, before I can get it done. But let's just see. Let me get this thing out of the bush. At least back to the trailhead. So much snow. All right, got him out to the trail. Man, that was a nasty drag, buddy. That was over a lot of logs. He's heavier than he looks, I'll tell you that. And through some gnarly freaking terrain in here. But now at least I'm gonna hike back to the old homestead, grab my quad, and I'm gonna drag him out of here in a more civilized manner. I'm really starting to lose light now. I gotta hike all the way back home and grab my quad. I'm not dragging that thing in. I could grab the Jeep too, but I think the snow's deep enough where the quad is gonna be a better option. The Jeep can kind of push through anything, but I need new tires, so anyway, let's go get that machine. All right, well, she's good and stuck. I'll tell you that. Look how much snow has come down.
since I started this hunt, man. That is crazy. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it right there. I'm not that far. I've got maybe 150 yards up this hill. I'm gonna drag her down. All right, come on, buddy. Me and you, let's do it. Come on, buddy. Let's go. And God damn it, whew, that was an adventure. The deer is home. And I got bad news for you. And it really sucks. This is my first deer on YouTube. I've shot so many of them so well. This is probably the worst shot of my life. On closer inspection, there's the entry. That's a good at least 3 inches too high, if not more. Anyway, that snow on the scope really fucked me. The shot is not good. The back side of it, because of the angle that it was on, I was hoping it was this side of that anterior cavity where all of the guts are, you know, like the stomach and the intestinal tract, etc. And I think with this angle, it might have just clipped it because I can smell it and it's not good. I got to deal with this right away. But first, I got to make some room to work out of all this snow. It's the reason I dragged it down here and didn't dress it right on site is I've got much better light here. And I've dressed deer in the dark so many times in bad conditions. And as soon as I smelled that exit wound, and I have a concern there, I knew I'm going to need good light. And, you know, the headlamp may not cut it. I took the, you know, whatever extra little bit of time to drag him down here. And now I can do it a lot better. So give me a second. I got to grab the shovel. Buddy, what do you think of our nice deer? Come on, come and look at him. He's not a big one, but he's a nice one, buddy. What do you think? Look, he's saying hi to you. No. What do you think, bud? He's not sure. It's dead, dude. You can be all right. No, he says, I don't know. It's too big. You're not that big. Don't get ahead of yourself there, bud. But you can see why I wanted to drag it down. Look at that great big old spot I got there, beaming down. This is going to be so much better to deal with this. I don't even think it's a potential problem. It's a problem. And as you're about to see, it wasn't at all as big a problem as I was worrying about in this moment, but I was starting to get concerned. All right, guys, just went in and changed my sweater. I was at home anyway, and I can't tell you how many sweaters I've wrecked dressing deer. But I'm not going to be doing a field dressing how-to video for you today because of this shot that I'm really not very happy with. This could be a mess. So here's what I promise you. At some time in the future, I will do a how-to video on how to do this. I'm going to throw it up on the time lapse. I really got to get this done, and it is what it is. There's a field dressing how-to video coming in the future. It's not going to be today. That snow on the scope really fucked me on this one. It's never happened before. Believe it or not, I've not made a shot like this before. I feel a little embarrassed about it, but what did I promise you when I started this channel? Go back and watch the very first video that I ever put up. You're always going to get super mega realness. The fails, the wins, the bad shots, the good shots, all of it, okay? So anyway, time lapse, let's go. And as I'm sure you already know, there's no better way to confront a problem than to take it head on, so I just dove right into dressing this deer, wondering what really happened and super curious about how this shot played out in the deer's anatomy, and was super relieved to find that nothing was pierced that shouldn't be. The stomach was still fully inflated. All of the guts were intact, and I could not find the source of the smell that was bothering me after I made that shot. Was it all in my head because it was so far back? All right, well, it turns out that wasn't as bad as I thought. I don't think I did nick the stomach. I was very worried there that I had nicked the stomach. Even when I was dragging this deer out, I smelled something, but nothing is pierced. You can see the stomach is still fully inflated and intact. The whole dressing went really well. I could have showed you that. I thought it might be messy, so I didn't want to set a bad example. But that went totally fine. He did want to keep tipping over. He was not very happy about the situation, so that was kind of funny. I did fight him a little bit. But the actual gutting part went great. I'm going to show you our OFAL haul from this, because don't forget, I do try to use as much of this as possible. We've got heart, kidney, liver, and caul fat over there. I'm going to show those to you in just 1 second, but that all went great. Now I just got to hang it. Quick look at the butchery table here. None of this is getting butchered, but I want to just show you, look at those beautiful kidneys, right? There's our heart, right? This is actually going to get aged. This will be the only organ of all of these that doesn't get processed
right away. It is a muscle like any other, and it does benefit from aging. So I'm not going to hang it. I do it in the fridge, but I'll show you that if I think of it. And then the liver will get processed very, very quickly. I've got some really good tips and tricks to share with you about getting as much blood out of that as possible. It makes it taste a lot better the more blood you can get out of it. But if I have time, I'll do a little how-to video on that if I think of it. And there's our caul fat. He didn't have a lot, but I got it in really good shape. And I don't know if you noticed on the time lapse, I grabbed that before I even pulled the guts out. And this is a habit that I've gotten into when the opportunity presents itself over the last few deer, is that if something does go wrong, you've got it out nice and clean. And if you're not familiar with caul fat, this is the best and only really good edible fat on a deer. It kind of surrounds the stomach and some of the organs, etc. And I got it off super duper mega clean. I can't wait to wrap some freaking steaks and that stuff, buddy. That's the bee's knees right there. And now let me just clean up a little bit. You can see I've got quite the pile here. I don't want to leave that around. We do have a lot of wolves and coyotes around, and they will be right at my back door if I'm not careful. And then I just got to hang this guy. But buddy, we did it. You didn't help a lot. You were, in fact, very uncooperative, but we got her done. So high five, I guess, for you. And yeah, let me hang this bad boy. And it's so funny that I didn't figure out where that smell was coming from. You know, in the post-mortem, I broke it down. I don't know if you saw on the time lapse, I only hit one lung. Anyway, it's in there somewhere. There's one hole in one lung and the other one is perfect. And I really expected to find a nick in that stomach. Look, it's still fully inflated. Every single, obviously not the intestine, it wasn't that far back, but it all worked out in the end. It was actually not that bad of a shot, all things considered, with the snow on my scope. That could have gone worse for sure. And I'm very happy with how this ended up. He's beautiful.
Yeah, he sure is. And just a little cleanup on aisle 7, and I was ready to hang that deer.
All right, just got this come along up. And normally it's just a question of, you know, hooking on the gambrel and hoisting her. But this old garage was slated to be torn down this year, and I didn't get around to it. There was just too much other stuff going on. I had repairs on my roof and all kind of renos and shit. Anyway, long story short is I'm not 100% trusting this old garage to hold up a deer. So I'm going to take a couple of minutes and find a way to shore this up before I put them up, because I don't want the whole thing crashing down on my deer and then it's all for naught. North life, man. It is what it is. All right, he's up and draining, and the garage is holding, so that's huge. You can see I just took this piece of, I had some of these lengths of red pine, these 8-footers left over from my woodshed build, and he's not as small as you would think for a 2-year-old. 2.5-year-old, man. He's a sizable deer, honestly, for his age. Again, not a monster, not a trophy, don't give a shit.
And it's also worth noting there are a lot of wolves and coyotes around. I don't want them coming around grabbing my cat or messing with my deer, etc. Not that it's a huge worry in terms of them, you know, stealing my deer or something. I don't even think they could get it down if they tried. But, you know, I do have a little cat around here, and I don't want to deal with them. I do have a tag. I'll shoot one if I had to, but better to just kind of get it up out of the way where they can't, you know, make trouble.
You guys down south are gonna love this.
If you've never seen this before, you're gonna laugh, guys. It's so cold up here. We often struggle to keep our deer from freezing when we're aging them. And unless you got a big like dry aging setup or a giant industrial fridge or something, you can't fit a deer in it. This is the kind of shit we gotta do.
Yeah, it might seem extreme, but I often have to wrap my deer and even throw a space heater on him to keep him from freezing solid.
All right, he's wrapped. I got 4 packing blankets on there. Again, I'm sure you guys down south think that's freaking hilarious. It is necessary. -12 centigrade would freeze that thing pretty much all the way through overnight if I wasn't careful, right? So we're not going to be too worried about the head. I will eat the tongue, believe it or not. I'll show you that if I remember. It's actually really good when you know how to prepare it, and I can show you that if you're interested. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, she's in there snug as a bug of the rug.
And believe it or not, I'm probably going to throw a space heater on in here and try and close in the space around this deer to keep him from freezing. So that rigor mortis lets go and it starts to actually properly age. It's a thing.
Yeah, it is. I have to do it pretty much every year I shoot one late in the bow season.
All right, you want to have a look inside this makeshift meat cooler? Well, warmer, more technically. It ain't pretty, but I will tell you this. it works. I've actually done this exact little system many times in frigid late bow season temperatures. And then guess what? We got ourselves a little space heater in here. And trust me, if you've never seen this before, I know that sounds crazy, you're heating deer. I'm not heating it. It's so freaking cold outside, guys. Trust me, minus 12 or 13 overnight. That's before the wind chill. That's actual temperature. So what it's going to be in here. I can set this thing very, very low and just get it to kick. And I'm going to try and just keep this thing from freezing. Try and get at least 1 degree in here. And I can usually achieve it. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, guys. I am freaking done like dinner. I'm going to seal her up. I'm going to go in and eat something. I'll check in with you very quickly at the end. Guys, just processing organs. I've already got the heart away. I'm just about to process the liver, etc. And I wanted to just quickly drop in and show you this. Look at that kidney. Do you remember that smell I was telling you about that I could not find the source of when I shot that deer? Well, this kidney got scored by the broadhead. Believe it or not, like the kidney sits quite high up in the anatomy, right inside, and my shot was high, and this is maybe what I was smelling out of that exit wound, because I can't explain it otherwise. You saw the stomach was fully inflated. There was no part of the intestinal tract that was pierced, and there's a nick in that kidney which does sit up right close to where that exit wound was. That's gotta be what it was, man, because, you know, what the kidney does, it processes urine. I smelled a skunky sort of, bathroomy smell, and I thought it was maybe stomach contents, but, it was really freaking cold, and my nose was all freaking sniffly and snotty, and I maybe wasn't smelling that good. Maybe it was this broadhead pierced kidney, which has never happened to me before. But go look up the anatomy of a deer, and you'll see that the kidney really does sit high up, and that's right where my shot was. That is a first. I think that's the culprit. Anyway, I just wanted to show you.
And look at that. It snowed again. Guys, thanks for watching the video all the way to the end. I'm going to cut her off there. Stay tuned. Subscribe if you haven't already. There's going to be more videos about the subsequent processes, breaking down this deer, aging it, butchering it, getting it in the freezer, etc. But for now, I am so tired. It's crazy. Thanks for watching all the way to the end, and I'll catch you next week. Cheers.
Yes, sir. Thanks again for watching all the way to the end. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Chuck a like up on here if you did enjoy the video and you got something out of it. Drop a comment below and let me know what you thought of my season. And hey, go watch a couple more videos if you got time. Doesn't cost you anything, and neither does subscribing. Cheers.